morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, how y'all doing today?
Wonderful, wonderful.
Great.
Good. And welcome to Build Your Best Life Conversation with the Guys. Today we have a very good conversation that we're going to have. And our topic today is going to be, when is a man a man? When is a man a man? But before we get to that conversation, I want to introduce all my distinguished colleagues that's in the background there. Very informational. Those guys got wisdom. They got experience. And if you're tuning in today, this is going to be a good one. You'll be blessed to hear everything that these guys have to say. And first, let me introduce them to you. Up in the left-hand corner, I have my man, Mr. Durden. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing awesome. And it's always a blessing to be able to connect with you guys and have these conversations, because they not only help the people that we're speaking to, they also help us to think through those questions and be able to really work through it for ourselves. So it's always a blessing to be a part of Build Your Best Life in conversation with the guys.
We're glad to have you here this morning. Then we have over to his right, Mr. Deacon Dan Smith Jr., who is also married to Coach Deborah Smith, who we are on her platform, and I am so grateful for her to have me host this today. How you doing this morning, Mr. Deacon Dan Smith?
I am doing great. Glad to be here amongst the fellows. And everything has been blessed.
Good. Great. Great to see you again. Like I said, been gone for a minute, but glad to see you and everybody else. And last but definitely not least, we have Mr. Dr. Joseph Levette down at the bottom left. And Dr. Joseph Levette, very experienced military man, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, this is great to be back after a little hiatus, but I'm glad to be back. I'm so excited. I literally have missed being on this program. I watched last month and I was like, I had some moments. I was like, man, I wanted to be in that. But I'm glad to be back. So I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Good. Same here. Been gone for a minute, but I have not, lost contact. I still looked at the YouTube channel to see these guys discussing all the topics and stuff while I was out there or whatever. But it's a blessing to be back. And, God is good. And all of us are healthy. You can't ask for nothing better than that. And we back at it again. So we're going to dig right into the conversation today. When is a man a man? Oh, but before I do that, excuse me, I am Coach Dr. Kevin Wilbon, your host today. And for those who have not, been watching this platform and it's on today, I've been here with these guys for a minute, and we're out here trying to, put out informational things, for young men and women, who is ever watching, especially single parents or whatever. And, to let them know that, we're out here trying to make sure that they're living their best life the best way they can, and by giving out and putting out information, from this platform, will be a blessing to them. So I'm going to dig right into this conversation. When is the man a man? And I'm going to ask you guys, when do you think you were a man versus when you actually became a man? When do you think you were a man versus actually before you became a man? And I'm going to start off with you, Derek.
Honestly, coming out of high school with my popularity and all that, I felt like I had the foundation of what it was to be a man. But actually, when I went through the process of just going through those hard times, those situations when I was tested, it was that process of just coming through those situations and taking a piece from here, taking a piece from there, and putting those things together, becoming more mature, becoming more responsible, becoming more in tune with who I was as a person. That's when I really became a man.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, what about you, Dr. Levette? When did you think you became a man before you actually became a man?
Well, let me tell you this. I thought I was a man when I was probably about 16. because people, my uncles and people would call me young man. It's like, hey, young man, so I was a man. But but kind of like Derek, when I got out of the house and I was on my own, I went in the Army and found out I had to be accountable for myself. That's when I really understood and became a man. And as time evolved, it's kind of like what the scriptures say, when I became a man, I put away childish things. So, I had to, when you get out on your own and you leave home right at the age of 18, you got to be ready to go. You can't, it's too late to be trying to figure it out. You got to, if you ain't there, you got to quickly try and become there. So I think that was it. And going through the military and going through basic training, that really kind of set a good foundation and base for me becoming a man, because I really learned how to take responsibility. I learned how to take accountability. And like Derek said, I matured and I grew up, so that's how I actually knew that I was a man then.
Okay. All right. Deacon Dan Smith. When did you become a man before you actually became a man? You thought you were a man. When did you become a man?
Well, in my mindset, I was around 20 years old. I figured I was a man. But in reality, I was still with my parents under their roof. I had no responsibilities, no worries, or nothing. But when I actually became a man, when I turned 21, almost going on 22, stepped out into the world and bought a house and got married, and and my daddy had always instilled in me, son, don't leave here until you can take care of your responsibility.
Got you.
And so that's when I really knew I became a man. I had my own responsibilities, had things I had to take care of, household and all. So that's when I knew I became a man.
Responsibility. Well, I'm gonna tell you, I thought I became a man before I actually became a man. It's something similar to what Dr. Levette was saying, because when I left home to go into the military, I'm gonna tell you, basic training was terrible. It was rough. It's not like it is now. It was very, very hard. Hands on, people all in your face and the whole 9 yards. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I called my mom after the first week and told her I want to come home. I can't do this. My mother told me this, and this right here, I'll never forget, because I always tell people this. She told me, when you left this house, there's no bed here now. Somebody else got that bed. So you got to do whatever you got to do. You can't come back here. And that was the best advice that I've ever gotten. And I stayed there. I did what I had to do. And that's when I felt like I became a man. So that was my story on that end, as far as me becoming a man before I actually became a man. Because I was actually 17, going on 18 when I entered the military. Okay, guys. Sometimes a young man may encounter a parent who doesn't believe in second chances or grace. If a young man is acting grown and their parents put them out, do they become a man? Now, if your parents put you out, do you become a man? And I'm going to start off with you, Deacon Dan Smith.
Well, not necessarily, because once they put you, what was the reason they put you out? Because you thought you was a man. You was doing things that you want to do.
Right.
So they put you out so you can grow to learn how to be a man, be on your own. That's one of the things when I brought my sons up, hey, you don't have to leave the house until ready to take on responsibilities, and I explained them what responsibilities was, what they need to do, and to give them a good understanding. But what I didn't mandate them to do, once you leave and you get ready to leave by your house, I don't want you in no apartment. At least they all follow my instructions. So, yeah, you done gave them that second chance, you done gave them grace and all like that. But if they come out there, as a lot of people say, smelling themselves, this and that, and want to be boss here and boss there, you still, if you're with your parents, you're under their rules, not under your rules. So when you know how to set your rules and become under your rules, then you becoming a man.
Okay. All right. All right, Dr. Levette, what's your take on that? You know, if your parents kick you out, do you become a man?
Absolutely not. You are not. It's not. But I tell you what, you will be. You will be a homeless boy uh, until you can figure life out. Because you're gonna now be forced to become a man now. Because now you in your own. You out on your own, and you have to be able to. Yeah, you got to respond to life. If you don't respond to life, life will swallow you up. And especially in a scenario like that where you just all of a sudden your life changed just in a moment and you put out, and then now you got to try to figure out, okay, first of all, you got to figure out how to live. I mean, and part of that is, and if you thought you was a man and your parents, and like Deacon Dan said, you thought you was a man and that's why they put you out because you wanted to be grown. Oh, you learn real quickly that you're not a man. But I will tell you this, if your parents put you out, you probably need to humble yourself. Go back to your parents, apologize, change your ways so you can get back in the house. And then now you understand what being a man, you understand that you need to follow the authority over you in order to learn and grow and mature into becoming a man.
Gotcha. There ain't no joke out there. There ain't no joke. Okay, Derek, how you feel about this?
When I think about the statement of putting you out, I think about when the eagle pushes the eaglets out of the nest in order to learn how to fly. So in order to directly answer your question, we got to look at the question within itself. Do you become a man? Becoming is a process. The kicking out is just the start of the process. So yes, kind of contrary to what Dr. Levette said, you do become a man. The question is, what type of man do you become?
Okay. Yeah, most definitely. I feel like this, you know, if you get kicked out, no, it definitely doesn't make you a man. Just like Dr. Levette was saying, you know, you should humble yourself and try to get back in there. But I tell you one thing, if you do get kicked out, you better have a plan. If you doesn't have a plan, you will be homeless. You know, you will be homeless. And it's a process. Becoming a man just because of age, people got this misconception of, you know, a certain age, you know, you become a man at a certain age, and that's not true. You know, you still got boys out there that's 25 and 30 years old. You know what I'm saying? They're not mature, you know, to even be, you know, be called a man. So it's like Derek's saying, it's a process. It's not something where, okay, well, since you think you're a man, I'm going to kick you out there and let's see what kind of man you are. It doesn't make you a man when you get kicked out, you know. So I'm just like you, Dr. Levette. I think you should humble yourself, get back in there, do the things you need to do, learn, and have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, you better stay home until you get one. Okay. All right. In Numbers 32:11, God said, surely none of the men that came out of Egypt from 20 years old and upward shall see the land which I swore unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, because they have not wholly found me. Are all 20-year-old men, are all 20-year-old men. And it's just like what I just almost alluded to a few seconds ago, but I'm going to start off with you, Derek. Are all 20-year-olds men?
I mean, you just answered the question probably 5 seconds ago.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I was not looking at that question at all. I was going off. I'm serious. I was looking at that question. Right. I was going off of how I really felt about the situation. So what do you feel about that, though, D?
I feel like 20, 30, 40, 50, and above, those numbers do not make you a man, either one of them. So at the age of 20, just not even 20, 21, the so-called legal age, no, that does not make you a man. Like you, I mean, you really already answered the questions, but to piggyback, matter of fact, let me ask a little question that's different from that question to each and every one of y'all. Can you be a man and not provide?
Wow.
So is it based, is being a man based off what you provide? I guess that's a better way to ask that question.
I'm gonna be honest with you with that question there. No, it doesn't make you a man because you can provide. You can provide and still be immature. You know, you can provide and still go out and do things that you have no business doing. So to me, that question that's a wide question because you can still provide and do things for people, but it still really does not make you a man. And that's how I feel about it. What about you, Dr. Levesque? We're gonna go off of this question to that question just to
I'll
see how
say
you feel about it.
I'll say this. That's a great question, and I'm gonna tell you why. When I lived in my mom and my dad's house, I had a job, and I was able to provide some tennis shoes and some clothes and things like that. But I wasn't a man.
There we go.
I wasn't a man, so that in itself kind of that's why that was at first. I heard when Derek put that question out there, I said that's a loaded question right there.
That is loaded. Very loaded.
But then I quickly came to my remembrance. I had a job when I had a job. I started working when I was 14. I was cutting grass when I was 12. So I had things that that some people could have said, "Hey, he got a job. I was saving money. I was doing all that stuff." My dad said, "Put some money away, spend a little bit on yourself." And I wasn't required to pay no bills, so it didn't make me no man. But when I got out and I had to start paying bills, that man thing hit a little different.
So, I know that you the man, but you ain't a man. You the man, but you ain't the man. All right, Deacon Dan, how you feel about that?
Well, based on that question, Derek,
that was a good question.
I'm gonna go like roll on a 20. You're 20 years old. That don't mean you're a man. And like I was in my household living with my parents, I had a job and a half. In other words, I had a part-time job and a full-time job.
Wow.
And what I did then, I was putting money away. I was giving them money. Well, my part-time job, I just gave my mama the whole check. I ain't look at it when I brought it in. I gave her the check because I didn't have to pay anything. They never asked me to buy anything, and one of the things my father always told me, now, if for some reason something happened to me or something happened to your mama and you had to be here to take care of us, then we finna turn tables. Then you're gonna really develop to say, okay, wait a minute, I got some heavy responsibilities here.
Right. Okay. Well, I tell you what, I know just like Dr. Levesque, I started working at a very, very young age because back then they were giving out jobs. Then as long as you can get a job permit or whatever, you could get a job. And we're talking about at 13 or 14 years old, especially during the summertime when they was giving out jobs in the summer or whatever. And I had plenty of jobs all the way up to, before I got into the military. But I really didn't feel like, although I probably thought in my mind I was a man, I know I wasn't a man because I know it was more to it just than having a job. You know what I'm saying? Because looking at, what my father was doing in the whole 9 yards, he had a job as well. Of course, he got paid way more money than what I got paid. What I got was pennies compared to what he had. But I looked at all the different responsibilities that he had besides having a job. So I already knew that, no, I was not a man, but I knew that this is something that I wanted to do. I wanted my own. I got tired. I kept asking for, can I get this? Can I get that? So I went out on my own and got jobs and stuff like that. But I definitely knew that I was not a man. So no, being 20 years old, 30, 40, 50, or 60, like Derek said, age does not matter. To me, like I said, I think it's the maturity that you have, the things that you do, not only being able to provide responsibility and accountability. And that makes a big difference in becoming a man. So that was definitely a great question, Derek. That was loaded. Don't throw no more loaded questions at the rest of the time, okay? Okay, guys. Does age, responsibility, integrity, being a womanizer, producing children, living a life of purpose, being able to lead a family based on God-led principles, or something else makes a man? Now I'm gonna do it again. Does age, responsibility, integrity, being a womanizer, producing children, living a life of purpose, being able to lead a family based on God-led principles, or something else makes a man. I'm gonna start off with you, Deacon Dan.
I thought you weren't gonna throw no more loaded questions out.
Right. Right. That's a loaded one.
Yeah, this is super loaded.
Hey, I ain't come up with that one. that was already there.
Well, I'm gonna have to break this down in the sections because
That was a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. Taking and being a woman wiser and producing children. I mean, no, they don't necessarily make you a man. I'm gonna leave that out because a lot of guys that I know them produce children and they get out neither one of them. So I know they weren't no man. If you're really a man, you're gonna take care of your children.
Right.
And you're gonna lead your family. God-led principles. Now that's something heavy.
Right.
You can't play with that. So if you're gonna live God-led principles, then that's something you really got to consider. Wait a minute, I'm living this God-led principle, so I've got to act. I got to be a man, a godly man, in order to make it work. So some of this stuff gonna make you a man, but I like to part this God-led principles.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna break it down this time instead of go fast like that. Dirk, does age, responsibility, or integrity make you a man?
If I was to choose one out of those three that you named, it would be responsibility.
Okay.
Because age, we already agreed, doesn't make you a man.
Right.
But responsibility is one of the words that continuously come up in this conversation when we talk about becoming a man. And in all actuality, I think that's actually the foundation of becoming a man.
Okay.
Not only being responsible for outward circumstances, but just learning and understanding that you are responsible for, first of all, your life. You can't blame it on your parents. You can't blame it on your upbringing. You can't blame your financial situation on the economy. You can't blame anything outside of you for who you are and what you become. So for me, once you learn and understand that you are responsible for your life and how you and your behavior affects others, I think that's the foundation of becoming a man.
Okay, good stuff, man. That's good. Okay, Dr. Levette, I'm gonna break it down. Okay. Now, being able to lead a family based on God-led principles, is that a foundation for making a man?
Out of all of those that's listed, that is the most important one. I think that whenever we can take the principles of the Bible, even going back to what the scripture I talked about earlier, when it talked about when I became a man, I put away childish things. The Bible is a roadmap to helping us. And as Derek said, and we all alluded to it, when responsibility, if you look at the Bible, that's what the Bible is teaching us, that you have to be responsible in order to start becoming, because the only way you can put away childish things, you got to become responsible. You can't be out there, you can't throw temper tantrums just because you don't get your way when if you're trying to call yourself being a man. You can't throw temper tantrums. You can't go off and want to fight everybody. You can't do all of those things. But when you become responsible, you understand the importance of what it means to be a man and what's at stake of you being a man. Because being a man is those things like your word is your bond. Being that you can provide not only for yourself but for your family. Those are the things that's part of. But it all starts, like Derek said, it starts from that foundation. If you don't have that solid foundation of responsibility, you're going to fail in most other things or aspects of becoming a man until you learn, mature, grow, listen, and take some great advice from some men with some wisdom.
Having a solid foundation makes a big difference in becoming a man. Having a solid foundation. And I agree with that as well, Dr. Levette. Okay, guys, please provide 2 tips on guiding principles you need before you are a man on the path to building your best life. Provide 2 tips on guiding principles you need before you are a man on the path of building your best life. And Derek, I'm going to start with you. 2 tips.
2 tips.
2 tips.
Okay, the first one is understanding your past. If you hear me speak, you always hear me talk about do not let your past define you.
Yeah.
But in order to not let it define you, you have to first go back to it and experience some of those things that are having a impact on you, whether it be negative or positive, and go and understand those things. You have to go through and dig through those situations that you went through in order to become the best version of yourself. Because if not, you're going to be carrying that baggage around, and it's going to be infectious, and it's going to carry over in every relationship and everything that you do. So the first tip is handle your past. The second tip is plan for your future. As it's been alluded to within the conversation about planning, you have to have an idea of where you're trying to go. It's like the first thing that you do when you're using the GPS system is put in where you are. The second thing you do is put in where you're trying to go. So those 2 points are the most important things when you're trying to map out your destination, your journey to where you're trying to go. So the first tip was dig into your past, handle your past. And the second is plan for your future.
That's great. That's great advice. Great advice, Derek. Okay, Dr. Levette, do you have 2 tips that you can give?
I do. I say one of the first one is get you a good male role model for men. And if you're a girl, get you a good woman role model. If you have a good manly role model, then that's going to be half of your battle. I mean, you'll learn so much, and then you'll start growing. Of course, you're going to become your own man, but you will at least have some good tools and some good principles to help you understand how to grow as a man. And then that's my first one. And my second one summarizes Derek's too. And I wrote it down here. It said, I wrote down, learn and grow from mistakes that you made when you was a boy and as you was becoming a young man. Learn from those mistakes, learn and grow. Don't just learn, because sometimes they learn, but they don't grow. And
Right.
then they have to relearn. So learn the first time those things. If you make a mistake in life, you was with a bunch of knuckleheads. You was in a car. They went and robbed the bank, or they went whatever. You got some little time. When you were young, you probably got off without it really hitting you hard. So once you become man age, now I'm not saying a man, but man age, then you're gonna get man charges, and you're gonna catch them. And so you learn and you grow from those mistakes you make while you're younger, so they don't then become and be an effect to you later as you're continuing in that process of becoming a man.
Okay. Good stuff. Most definitely. Most definitely. Okay, Deacon Dan.
Okay,
Five,
my
2
first
tips.
tip. My first tip is be a reader of the Bible, and it's one of the main topics I give a lot, speak up a lot. Is Proverbs. Read Proverbs so you can get wisdom and understanding. So that'll guide you. That's teaching you. Proverbs is going to teach you how to live. Give you direction in how to live. And my second one is set your goal. What is your goal? What are you trying to reach? Where are you trying to go? And stay on your goal. You might drop, you get knocked off a little bit, but you go back to them and look at them and review them. That way you can say, okay, this is what I did wrong. I'm like, there, you're going back and look at the mistakes. This is what I did wrong, and I got to proceed this way. So those are 2 tips. Read your Bible, especially Proverbs, and set your goals.
Okay. All 3 of you guys, all of those tips that you gave are excellent tips. I mean, I don't even know how to come back behind you guys and tell you guys what 2 tips I have, because everything that y'all said is pretty much, what I would actually say when it comes to, tips, because it's a lot of things that you can do to become a man, a lot of things you can do or watch. And just like Dr. Levesque said, get you a role model. That would be one of my first things, because just because you see a lot of men out there, that does not mean that they're men. I mean, people can deceive you, or you can be deceived by what you see. So you have to know, what's going on in this world. You got to know what's going on, and you have to make sure that you have your value, your core value straight in the whole 9 yards. And like Dick and Dan said, get a role model as well. And that would be one of the, 2 of the tips that I would have, just like what you guys were saying, so, and it's hard. It's not easy being a man, saying, okay, I'm a man, or becoming a man. It's not easy, so for people that really feel like, hey, just because you're growing up and, you're getting aged and you got a job and you're doing this and you're doing that, you're becoming a man, that's not necessarily true. It's very hard out here being a man. So for any young men that's watching this platform or whatever, take heed to all the advice that you've been hearing today, or any single parents, or even, dual parents. If you're hearing what's going on today, it's very important that the message that these guys had just put out, is important for the young men to adhere to. Okay, in closing, I want to know you guys' final thoughts. And I'm going to start off with you, Dirk. What are your final thoughts on building your best life for these guys to becoming a man? And what would be the best thing for them to do to be, to build their best life and to live their best life?
Just looking at the demographic, majority of the people who are probably watching this are probably single mothers. So if I was to give some advice, it would be to the single mothers. And the elephant in the room is always, can a woman raise a boy to become a man? And the truth of the matter is, they can assist, but they cannot solely do it, because they have not been fully equipped in order to do it. Because now we see a lot of times on social media, we see that women are saying that a man is this, a man is that, a man should do these things. But you're coming from a different perspective, and I feel like a lot of women are raising these young men to be their ideal man. And so they are nurturing them, which is their natural state to nurture them, but they're not able to give them the other half that comes directly from a man in order to get these young boys to be the men that they're supposed to be. So for me, my advice would be this. If you are a single mother, find some man, because 9 times out of 10, if you're raising a boy, he's going to hang around people who are like him. And if you truly want to raise him to be the man that he truly needs to be, you have to be proactive in the place of finding him a mentor, putting him in the place where he needs to be, where he can be around other men who can actually take him to that next level of manhood. So that would be my one final thought to the single mothers that's watching.
Man, that's definitely some good stuff there. Thank you, Derek. Okay, Dr. Levesque, what kind of advice can you, your final thoughts that you can give on men becoming men?
I'm glad that Derek covered the single mother aspect, and I'm gonna cover it from a dual parenting homes aspect. So you get the full wraparound services of this question. But I say, if you're raising your sons and even your daughters, raise them to become productive citizens. In other words, that's part of that going to from child to teenager to young adult to adult. And then the other thing, as you become an adult, as you become a man, continue to grow. It don't matter. Age don't matter. And I'm gonna give you a perfect example in my closing thought. He wasn't ready for this, but when I've known Deacon Dan now for probably better of 20, well, at least 15 or so years now. But one of the things, we went to church for years, went to church together. But one thing that I picked up on from Deacon Dan, I picked up his wisdom, because it was a certain position and thing I held in the church. And sometimes he was able to give me some wisdom, some godly wisdom and godly wisdom and some manly wisdom. And I took a lot of that. And I think that helped me draw to him. And now, he's a good source for being wisdom. So take those people that have wisdom. All of us, even Derek, at a young age, he has wisdom. Life experiences have built such wisdom in him that he don't mind sharing it. So you see any of these men, you can reach out to any of us, and we can be able to provide you with some of those tools and some of those things necessary. If you want us to have a talk with your son, hey, reach out to Coach Deborah Smith and say, hey, I would like, if it's okay, I like one of these men that I know I can trust them because I trust you, but that can help them know what it's like and to walk them through the stages of becoming a man, so they don't get the wrong perception of what being a man is from other people outside on the streets. So just find somebody. It go all the way back to what we said earlier. Getting that role model, that mentor, somebody you can lean on. Because that's kind of what I see. I see Deacon Dan. He's now become like a big brother mentor to me too. I mean, he don't know it, but he has so much wisdom. He does. I'm throwing him a plug too, but he does. He has a lot of wisdom, and a lot of everybody on here has wisdom. So seek that out. That would be my closing thoughts.
Definitely appreciate that. Thank you for that. And Mr. Wisdom, what's your what is your final thoughts on these young men becoming men?
Well, I'm gonna throw out something. Integrity. You got to be a integrous person. Self-responsible, doing the right thing, and I like what the comments have been said, closing thoughts said so far. These men on this show now have a lot of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So reach parents, single parents, mothers, whoever. You don't have to be a single parent. Reach out to Coach Deborah Smith. That's and right. Just, put it in and say, hey, I'd like to talk with one of these men. She ain't got to talk to one. She can talk to all four of us.
Most definitely.
There's something that we can do. And I like what you said, wisdom. You got to have wisdom. Then when you get that wisdom, you got to have the knowledge and the understanding. So you got to have all three of them to go with it. But yes, let's teach our young men how to be integrous, how to walk in wisdom, how to be an upright person. Let them know that sometimes you might fall, but there's always a hand stretching out to pick you up. Don't be afraid to get back up.
That's right. That's right.
Also, then don't single parents or women or whatever. Don't wait too late to reach out for help.
That's right. That's right. Well, I can tell you something that I was thinking about while you were giving out your final thought or whatever. Each one of these guys that's on this platform right here has been through it with experience, with knowledge. We're different ages, so we've probably covered everything that we've talked about. We've probably been through all of the stuff that we have mentioned and, young men becoming a man, so my thing is anybody that's watching or listening, at this podcast or whatever, you have a wealth of knowledge sitting right in front of you. And you can talk to any four of us or any five of us. And we're talking about Dr. Coach Ricardo Miller. He's not here today on this platform with us, but with us five, you can talk to any one of us and you will definitely, get your questions answered, anything that you may need to know in regards to young men, and trying to, build their best life or whatever, you can just reach out to Deborah Smith, and always and foremost, get her book, Build Your Best Life. This right here is a roadmap and a platform to a lot of things that's going on with young men that they can follow and they can read and they can get knowledge from. So get this book, Build Your Best Life by Deborah Smith. And in closing, I wanted to say this. I wasn't going to do this, but I got to do it anyway because I know my guys are probably watching. Those out there from Westlake High School, my son's school, Christian Wilbon, they won the Maryland 2A state championship this year. And they also went down to the Adidas Nationals in North Carolina at North Carolina A&T. And they came in second place overall in the 4x2 and fifth place in the 4x1. And my shout out to Stan Holloway, whose son is Grant Holloway, the Olympic track star and the world champion. We met him down there and he did some wonderful things for us. Shout out to you. And I hope you're watching this podcast. And if you are, please push this out to everybody that you know, because this right here is valuable. They get a lot of wealth of information. And we're here every second Saturday of the month, so I just wanted to say that and put that out there. But guys, again, thank you guys for being here. It was a blast talking to y'all. And, I love talking to y'all. When I'm not on here, I feel like I'm missing something, because every second Saturday, I wake up, I'm like, I'm going to see the guys today, we're going to just do our thing. And today I had a great time. So I want to say thank you, Derek. Thank you, Deacon Dan. Thank you, Dr. Levette, for, all your wealth of information and knowledge. And as usual, we'll see you guys again on the second Saturday of in August. So take care, stay blessed, and peace to you all.